It's everything, you know. You look at a boxer or a coach going into a big environment, and you look at the belief that the boxer has to have in himself, but he also has to have the coach in terms of, do you have the analysis done on this opponent? The strategy that you've selected for me, is that the right strategy? What if I get in here and I'm really beyond my depth? Can you control this? Can you look after me? So it's an unwritten code that the respect and trust between the leader, who's the coach, and the athlete is essential. And I've seen great athletes achieve great things and talk very greatly about the coach. And you know what, when it came down to it, technically, tactically, the coach wasn't that good at all. But what they have was a wonderful ability to inspire, to motivate, and put the athlete at thing. So leadership has to be about, you're constantly reminding that person of the dream. You're constantly reminding that person of what they are at 100%. You're constantly reminding them that they are not the situation. That the now, whatever the now is only the now, and that we can pass through all of this. And particularly, you look at the role a coach plays, or a leadership role plays after a defeat, in times like recession. When everything has to be reassessed and refocused. The first person the boxer looks at when he gets out of the ring is the coach. That's where leadership comes from. You're inspired with trust and vision. And sometimes when you're in the mayhem of a fight, and you're in the mayhem of preparing for the fight, what you need is a coach to deliver you with some calm, focused images of what's about to happen. And it's almost like a fishing line. Leadership is a fishing line. As soon as you begin to go back, it brings you back. It brings you back, brings you back. Back to the here and now, back to what 100% is, back to what success is. Very simple. Staying in the moment is as simple as, I'll tell you a story. We did a very quick story with Ken Egan. When we brought psychology in first, Ken Egan, one of the first guys that says, don't need that, that's not for me. And yet his performance says he did need it. So a very simple thing we did with him was we brought him down to Limerick Adventure Centre, brought the whole squad. We identified a couple of their fears. Kenny is afraid of heights. So we blindfolded him and we put him on a climbing frame. And he was climbing frame up, and he's a big, strong guy, so we had to encourage him, hold his hand, and we let him out along a plank, and he didn't really know who he was. But we were saying, right, Kenny, you're 5 foot off the ground now. If you fall, it's not going to kill you. So we walked him out to the top of a pole, like that, and he stood. We said, right, now you're going to stand. What you're going to do in 5 minutes is you're going to jump. There's a sand in front of you. I want you to land in the sand. So he was convinced he was 4 foot up, and he thought the exercise was blindfold, jump 5 foot. So we said, once you take the blindfold off, he opened, he was 20 foot off the ground, on a pole, and what he was standing on was no bigger than the top of that chair. So we had a heart rate monitor on him with a laptop, and we're looking. His heart rate just goes, he starts screaming. Now, Kenny is a great, colourful use of language, and everything you could think of was down. I'm standing there, I said, Kenny, you're not coming down. He starts roaring and screaming, the heart rate going cuckoo. We said, right, in order to come down, you've got to bring your heart rate back down again. I can't, get me down. You're going to stay there. So he suddenly realized we were serious. How do I bring the heart rate down? I said, do you remember the triggers we talked about? So he said, right. So he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, right, I'm just going to focus on the pressure between my feet and the pad. How solid does that feel? That sounds feeling solid. How solid do my legs feel? Yeah, they feel solid. Control my breathing now. Focus on the moment. And his heart rate started coming back down. I said, can you open your eyes? Open his eyes. Back up again. You come back down again. And eventually, after a couple of times, he could open up. And instead of looking down and saying, geez, I might fall there, there's a rock, I could do it. He just opened his eyes, look out and say, I feel very solid here. I'm not going to move. And I'm focusing on how solid I am. And I'm focusing on how solid this pole is. And I'm putting everything else out of my head. So to manage each zone like we talked about, it's focus on, what do I need to focus on right now? What are the things that I can control and what can I not control? And it's as simple sometimes as putting your hand on your heart and count 15 beats. And just remind yourself. So if everybody just put your hand on your heart this second. Put your hand on your heart. Count 10 beats. When was the last time you put your hand on your heart and counted it?
Last night.
Okay. How about you? What? A long time ago. How about yourself? Does everybody realize here, let me remind you, that thing that's tipping inside your heart, the minute that stops, you're dead. There is nothing more important to you in this universe than that little thing that you feel ticking there. There is no investment, there is no job, there is no house, there is no car, there is nothing in this universe more important than that little thing. So every now and again, as a small trigger, take a couple of deep breaths and just say, you know what, this is what's important here. Focus on the here and now and say, okay, where do I need to be? What can I control? So you're sitting in the car, traffic's backed up, stress, panic, I can't, because I can't control the traffic. But I can control the quality which I use this time. So what am I going to do here? And that's as simple as it is. It's focusing on the here and now. Focus yourself on what is solid about yourself, what is controllable, and just keep ruthlessly focused on that, and it allows you to dissipate everything else.
Thanks, Gerry.